Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Gaming the System, the podcast where three intersectional feminists examine gaming and games through a feminist lens. Today, I'm your host, Alex, and I'm joined by Matt. Before we get started, if you want to support us, you can subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/gamingthesystem for some exclusive content. Or you can send us a one-off donation via PayPal to our email address wearegamingthesystem@gmail.com. We're going to be talking about a form of gaming that we don't usually talk about, but we do occasionally talk about, and that is the sporting world, and in particular, the game of tennis. And it's just been Wimbledon 2024. Those of you that listen on the regular to the pod will know that I'm a massive tennis fan and follow it avidly throughout the year and try my best to go to Wimbledon live every year. And I managed to this year. Very lucky to get some last minute resale tickets in the ballot. And Matt is here to chat about it with me. Hello, Matt. So, I guess first question is, did you watch much of Wimbledon this year? And if so, what was your main takeaway from the tournament?
I followed most of it through the news because I've been consumed with watching long gaming streams at the moment, and there's been some interesting controversies around it. There's a lot of chat about Emma Raducanu,
yes,
which we can explore in depth a bit later, because there's some fucking dickheads going around. John McEnroe being a bit of a dusty old prick as usual. Some stroppy men as usual. And some stuff about Kate Middleton, which gets more aggravating the more I look into it.
Of course.
I want to preface, the thing that's been aggravating me since he's appeared is Carlos Alcaraz.
Yes, there's been much discussion over the pronunciation and why that is.
So he rubs me up the wrong way for three reasons, two of which are arguably just racist, which I completely go, but I know I'm completely wrong about that. I refuse to say Alcaraz because it's every time it has to be Alcaraz. But if that's the native pronunciation of it, that's fine. I'm happy to be wrong with that, and I allow myself that flawed opinion on it. The other one is he breathes through his mouth all the time, and that really irritates me. People who just like. It's just that slack jaw look of just looks like they're just going da inside their head, and that's no reason to dislike anyone, but it's just another one of my pet peeves. But the third one is 100%. So only one of them was mildly racist. The other one is just a little bit unreasonable. The third one is of course, the Six Kings Saudi tennis tournament that he is. That he is going to, which is that's a 100% valid reason. But we can get onto that at some point, maybe in the future, because neither of us really want to talk about it. But
no, I'd forgotten it was happening until you said then. But
sorry.
Thank you for reminding me. But yes,
back to Wimbledon.
Interesting. So for those that are uninitiated, the champions this year in the men's singles is Carlos Alcaraz. Defending his Wimbledon crown from 2023, and indeed he's won 2 slams this year, French Open and Wimbledon now, once again denying Novak Djokovic, yay. And in the women's singles it was Barbora Krejcikova, she was Czechian, I think that's how you say it nowadays, and she beat her opponent Jasmine Paolini from Italy, who had a massively impressive run, considering she hadn't won any matches on grass before Eastbourne this year, which is the warm-up tournament for Wimbledon. So quite astounding that she's had this amazing run of form, especially after reaching the final in the French Open just weeks before Wimbledon as well. So very, very exciting stuff. But yes, in terms of controversies that you mentioned, the one big thing that I'm taking away from this year's Wimbledon is the retirement of Andy Murray, who is due to retire after this year's Olympics in Paris. He will be playing the doubles with Dan Evans. Unfortunately, he's just announced today he won't be playing the singles, but it's very understandable why, because he's just had an operation on his back to remove a cyst from his spinal cord. And I don't know how he managed to play in Wimbledon, to be quite honest, because that was only a few weeks after the operation. But the drama around his last matches at Wimbledon came. He was playing his doubles match with Jamie Murray, his brother. It was all very emotional. There was a lovely tribute to Andy after that match. They played a video. Sue Barker came on court and did an interview. There was like the present and past tennis stars all lined up. For some reason, Holger Rune was there as well. It was all very emotional. And then in the days before that, they'd also announced a surprise mixed doubles pairing of Emma Raducanu and Andy Murray would be taking onto court to play in the mixed doubles. And that was due to be played the first Saturday of the tournament on court number 1. And the morning arrives of that day and Emma pulls out of the mixed doubles, saying she felt some pain in her wrist and she didn't want to jeopardise her singles campaign. I believe she reached the, I want to say 4th round. I can't remember, that's terrible, isn't it? But she reached the second week, I think, for second time in her Wimbledon career. But she didn't want to jeopardise her potential run in the singles, so she pulled out of doubles. And this happens quite regularly in tennis. A lot of people, particularly if they have a higher ranking in singles than doubles, will often sacrifice their doubles pairing to prioritise the singles if they go deep into a tournament. But of course, it all spilled out and became a little bit of a sort of bitter pill to swallow after all the wonderfulness that was the ceremony days before. Basically, you get the feeling that Andy's camp wasn't very happy with that decision. There were reports that she had told them something different. There was Judy Murray spouting off on Twitter, responding sarcastically to a tweet announcing the news, saying, "Oh, it's astonishing, isn't it?" As if to imply maybe that she does this kind of thing all the time. I don't want to read too much into it. Tone is very difficult to kind of look into when you read short things like that on social media. But anyway, the general tone aside, it just didn't look very good for the mother of Andy Murray to be sarcastically tweeting on Twitter. And then, Andy released a statement saying he was very disappointed with the decision, all that sort of stuff. And so the thing about Emma Raducanu is, if you don't know, she shot to fame being the only ever qualifier to win a Grand Slam, from qualifying and winning as basically a qualifying wild card. I believe she was qualifying wild card in the US Open in 2021. Since then, her form has been a little up and down. She's had 2 wrist surgeries and an ankle surgery. So her career has been very stop-start since that. And she's changed coaches many times over the course of that time period as well, more than any other tennis player I've known. She gets a lot of flack from everyone for whatever she does. If she does something, she'll say she'd be doing it the other way, etc., etc. She's become this figure of, it was a flash in the pan, it was a fluke that she won. She's no good, really. I think also because she's so young and, she has this aura around her. She's very pretty. She had a stalker at one stage as well after winning the US Open. there's attention on her for all sorts of reasons, some of them not very pleasant reasons. She's had a lot of sponsorship deals, which people have criticised her for. And I think she's held up to this standard, whatever this imaginary standard is, and often, in people's eyes, she falls short because she's either not doing enough of one thing or doing too much of another, or she's doing things her own way and people don't like that. I think people react really badly to, particularly a young woman, doing things that are not the normal expected thing to do. For example, having so many coaches, swapping them around maybe after only a couple of months. It's not the done thing, but because she's done it, everyone says, well, what's she doing? Like, why is she doing that? That's not what she should be doing, and so on and so on. So she gets a lot of criticism from pretty misogynistic sounding men most of the time on social media, and she got a lot of criticism for this. And then, of course, she loses in the next round, which was discussed at the time. Whether she wins or loses, she'll get criticised for it. But yeah, so that was the drama that unfolded over the mixed doubles, which put a slight sour note onto the end of Andy Murray's Wimbledon career. Personally, I think, I don't really care that she pulled out of the mixed doubles. If you look at it from the point of view of she's doing her job, she wants to prioritise singles. Her wrist is sore. She's had 2 wrist surgeries she's only just come back from. She's got to think about her body and prioritise that. But because it's going against the grain and might be seen as disrespectful to Andy, and yes, she'll probably regret not having that opportunity to play with him because he's going to retire. But she did what felt right for her in the moment, and she sticks to her guns. So, sorry, I realise I've talked for a very long time now. But yeah, what's your take on it, Matt?
Yeah, so I think it's excellent, an excellent thing for her to have done, because she as soon as she won the US Open, she has been absolutely drowning in the most exclusive and some of the most successful companies on the planet. She's all over her Instagram. It's Porsche and Rolex and Louis Vuitton and everything, which is brilliant. And a sign of our times, which is good, is that I haven't seen much sexualization of her, which I think is an excellent, because if you think about the Anna Kournikovas and Maria Sharapovas of the past, whereas now if someone was to do that, they go, well, they can't attack her based on that anymore. And all of the vitriol surrounding her it's them, people wanting to control her, to make her go, well, she's not doing this, you should be doing this, you should be listening to my opinion. Whereas what she's done is her having a series of coaches shows that she's going, I'm not happy with this, and so we're going to do something different. Rather than going, oh, I'm not happy with this, but people are telling me I should do it, so I'll do it. Her doing that with her coaches is an excellent sign. And then her having the personal, authority and confidence to go, this is Sir Andy Murray. This is his final tournament. I have a responsibility to him to do what I'm supposed to do. Instead, she goes, no, I'm not going to do that because it's not in my best interest. I'm an athlete. I'm a spokesperson for tons of brands. I've got my own career. And it gets that feeling of she and all of this noise shouting at her is trying to go, no, you can't be like that. You have to be part of the system. And her choosing to do that is a fantastic sign of a continuation, because she seems to have a far better perspective on life and the world that she's in, because she can simply go, oh, I won that one tournament. Now she's instantly got generational wealth from all these sponsorships. She could have retired at the age of 19 and been fine for the rest of her life. And she's going, I don't need this. I don't need anything that the people in the press and on Twitter are offering her. She doesn't need anyone to like her. She doesn't care about that. She doesn't need to play. She doesn't need to do lip service to Andy Murray and do what the system demands of her. So I think it's an excellent sign. Everyone should be going, oh, that's very bold of her to be doing this.
Well,
but instead...
Sorry, Matt. I was just going to say, I think she was disappointed not to be able to do it because she jumped. She obviously was really excited when she got asked because he just asked. I think it was quite last minute. This was the trouble. And of course, I think if she wasn't worried about her wrist and her singles campaign, she would have played it. But she wanted to prioritise that. And the other thing I was going to mention also, when you talk about her attitude to life, an interesting point that happened, obviously it was the general election during Wimbledon this year, 4th of July. She was asked whether she would be voting in press conference. She didn't even realise that it was happening. And then she said, no, probably not. And then kind of dismissed it, which was a bit of a bummer. I think it kind of just shows that how tennis players are so in their little bubbles, that real-world issues such as the general election don't even come onto their radar, which was a little disappointing. But she's still very, very young. I didn't know what I was voting for when I was young. I voted because it's my right to vote, and I'm very proud and pleased to have it. But I'm not sure I fully understood what was going on and why I should or shouldn't vote for some people. I hadn't fully formed my political opinions, let's say. So I can see both sides, but it was just a little bit sort of very privileged bubble kind of answer, which was a little disheartening. But no, generally, I'm just glad that she is sticking to her guns with her career. I do also know that, but I've heard a lot of talk about how involved her father is with her career, and that's seems to be a common thread, particularly for female tennis players, which is a whole other issue in itself, because, you do worry about parental influence on players. And it's not limited to women in the game, obviously. The biggest example in the men's is Stefanos Tsitsipas. I don't know if you know about his father being his coach, Apostolos, but their relationship is, from what I've watched, and I've watched a lot of it, pretty volatile on court. They argue all the time, and it just doesn't seem a very healthy setup to me. But I'm digressing now. But yeah, was there anything else you wanted to say, Matt?
Yeah, I think again the election answer is actually a good sign because she's being honest. If she was doing if she had 90% of players have a what's the word? Person who, like a media person who
agent.
I think it's a PA, the PR person who goes. If someone asks you about the election, you say, I think it's extremely important that we have the right to vote. And you go out and you choose to think your best for that. She goes, oh yeah, I didn't even know it was on. I'm probably not going to vote. That's honest. Someone, if they're... So I
think a lot of people were just disappointed that she didn't say everyone should vote. At least. Even if she wasn't going to vote herself. She just... Yeah. But then...
Again, it comes down to responsibility.
Yeah.
She's going, that's not my responsibility. It's not my responsibility to make Andy Murray feel good, to fluff him up on his last tournament. It's not my responsibility to do anything that people in the media or on social media tell me to do. And I don't think it matters. And if it doesn't matter what she does, then she may as well do what is best for her, which I appreciate. Mm-hmm. And the fact that she's so young and has so much power now over her own life is a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
To me, I think the last thing I'd like to say is yes, the Judy Murray being who the fuck does she think she is?
Yeah.
What the fuck is her? Why would she do that?
It's probably better not to even bother like tweeting it. I was listening to the tennis podcast religiously, as I do, during the Wimbledon fortnight, and Catherine was mentioning about it. They had quite a lot of discussion on it, actually, in the episode after the day the events happened. And she basically said it's probably best if she just didn't hit send, even if she thought it. Like, apparently she shared on Instagram about Serena Williams mentioning how great it was to play mixed with Andy, like on the same day, which, without comment, which again is just a little bit provocative, really. And she is a retweeter of J.K. Rowling, so that's all I need to say.
That's exactly what I was about. That's exactly the thing I just thought, because it's the screaming, squealing of unbelievable privilege. The privilege to go, yes, it's astonishing that she should poo-poo my son. I'm going to say something sarcastic and passive-aggressive on Twitter. How important am I? And just, it doesn't matter.
No,
why would it just... So that's on the like, you just go, but that doesn't matter to Emma Raducanu at all, which is an excellent thing. The most egregious thing that I've seen said or written about her, do you know who Anne Diamond is?
No, I don't know.
She's a commentator. I can't remember. I don't know exactly which one. Speaking live on TV.
Oh, yeah.
And I quote, "She snubbed the King of Wimbledon. Who does she think she is? Just speaking as a fan, I was really looking forward to it. I also see it as a giant snub from a young girl who has got a future ahead of her, yes, but he is the King of Wimbledon."
It's not a snub. Her wrist is hurting.
Yeah.
And also, technically a lot of people argue that Federer is, or Djokovic technically is, has won quite a lot of them, even though that's got really boring now. But, you could argue a lot of players are King of Wimbledon, It's
just a disgusting, pathetic little person to say something like that.
Using that language as well is so provocative, because that brings class into it as well. She's a meagre little nobody and he's the king. But whatever. People are just being stupid about it. But this is the thing now. This is the thing with, obviously we're getting very excited for the Olympics happening in a few days. There's so many headlines coming out around lots of different things to do with various Olympians. And it's mostly just people saying things and people getting up in arms about things that people have said. But sometimes what people have done. It's all turning into a bit of a he said, she said thing, which grinds my gears a little bit. Just the Twitter of it all. But yes, we'll come on to that in more detail in our future episode.
Yeah. I've got so that was the first half of her quote. The second half, which is even more ridiculous. "I'm not rooting for her anymore. I'm so sorry. I was yesterday. I was so keen and absolutely behind her. And now this. To me, this is like Rishi Sunak going back from the D-Day beaches early. I think it's an unforgivable snub."
That's just not great, is it? You can't compare the two. Because, in what way is Emma Raducanu in a position with as much responsibility as the Prime Minister's role?
She has no responsibility to anyone.
No.
And either Anne Diamond is a pathetic, disgusting little person who is just screaming from a position of privilege about the young girl, a 21-year-old girl who's been on the world stage since she was 18, or she's doing it on purpose to be divisive to get on the...
I think that's what most journalism is these days, just to stoke up division, really. It's what most major news outlets seem to do. But It's all a bit of an overreaction, to be honest.
Yeah, it's just to find out the ones who are the con men grifting and doing it on purpose, like Piers Morgan.
Yes.
And the ones who are sort of insane enough to not realise that that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's very bad.
Okay. But yes, I was meant to see Jasmine Paolini, actually, thinking on it. I went on the third day, the first Wednesday. It rained a lot, unfortunately. We had our rain delay for a couple of hours, sitting in the rain, not doing a lot. And we saw one full men's match, and then half of two other men's matches. And the women's matches were either cancelled or moved to other courts. So the ticket that we paid for to see both men's and women's matches, we ended up seeing all men's, which was a bit disappointing. Felt a bit weird because usually whenever I go, I see both men's and women's matches. So it was a bit of a not like the most exciting Wimbledon ever. It was still a great day. I still got to see Stan Wawrinka and Gael Monfils, which is the main match I was looking forward to seeing. I saw probably about a quarter of it before we went home at about 8:30, because by the time they came on, it was like the evening already. So generally, it was a very enjoyable day. But there was some talk around the scheduling as well. I think on the first day they scheduled, or was it on the first day that the women open up? So on the Tuesday, you have the champion of the men's open up play on the Monday on centre court, and on the Tuesday it's the champion for the women's, and they had 2 women's matches on centre that day. And then they had quite a chunk of the tournament where it went back to being 2 men's and 1 women's match, because they have 3 matches on the big show courts. And then eventually they went back to having 2 women's and 1 men's for a couple of extra days before it became men's days and women's days in the semis and finals. So the scheduling was under scrutiny. They'll probably argue it was the rain's fault, because they had to make sure certain matches get completed at certain times. But they were prioritising the men's draw, I think, a little more than the women's, getting those matches completed. Of course, there's number 1 court as well. But the big main court everyone has their eyes on is, of course, centre court. And they're putting more men's matches on it than women's. So just an interesting thought to end on. Nowhere near as bad as the French. Open, of course. But we'll see what happens in future.
I just want to we can close out with this year's edition of Stroppy Men,
of course,
screaming and losing their temper.
Yes.
The most so the 2 ones that I stood out to me the most was one by Andrei Rublev, who
not the first
apparently
time.
You're not allowed to smash your racket on the grass.
No,
so he smashed it on himself.
Yeah, he does
hit
that
himself
a lot.
in the legs and on the head.
Yeah, he very often I hate to use the phrase, but he does self-harm a lot during matches, and it's not easy to watch. By all accounts, he's an absolutely lovely person off the court, and I can tell from interviews that he's just really... I think he has a really low opinion of himself and probably quite low self-esteem. Just full armchair psychology here, after many years of watching him. But on the court, his anger just he's completely consumed by it. And he ends up smacking himself, making himself bleed. He goes into massive hysterical rants and shouts, and he has actually been suspended from a match for shouting in the face of a lines judge for a call that he believed was incorrect. So he has anger management issues that he needs some help with, I expect. But it's just a recurring theme with Andre, unfortunately. And I hope that he gets the help and support that he needs in whatever form that he needs it, because it's not easy to watch and it can't be nice to experience for his team or for himself. And I don't think it's, tennis players are very often cited as role models. And, in the political side of things, he's a great role model. He's against the war between Russia and Ukraine. As a Russian, it's a very brave thing to do. He's written about it publicly on the camera at the end of matches and said about it in interviews. But in terms of controlling his temper and respecting officials on the court and respecting his own self, he needs support with that, I think. But yeah, it's just not a good thing to watch.
Yeah, and the kind of rage that men display so often. The other one was Daniil Medvedev,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
who was screaming
fellow
fuck you
Russian
at the umpire.
and a good friend of Andrei Rublev. Yeah.
And it's one of those things that you think, oh, they'll calm down on their own. But the first time that you do that and they watch film back of themselves, the first time you watched yourself behave like that, you would go, oh my God, I can't believe I did that.
Yeah.
That's the most disgusting thing I've ever seen. And then you would go, right, why did that happen? And they all have like sports psychologists who they work with. And so these men aren't going to do it on themselves. And the media isn't going to make them do it because the media goes, oh yeah, they're just fiery and passionate. Even though it's about intimidating and inflicting your anger upon people. You're trying to impact other people with your anger. If Andrei Rublev, and if you're only doing it to yourself and you're not shouting at umpires, but the second you're directing at other people, that's different to directing it at yourself.
Exactly.
And you can feel those things and then you manage them. That's the point. That's what should be happening. But the only way to get this to stop is to have regulations, far stricter regulations with far bigger consequences.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There could be, if you try and do anything, if you display anger like above a certain degree, could be if you swear on court, for example.
Yeah.
And they go, oh, that's unfair. Once I get angry and it helps me play. Well, go, that doesn't matter. Everyone else on. So we've got.
The difficulty is, of course, when you've got an umpire regulating that, they have warnings for verbal abuse, things like swearing, as was the case in the Daniil Medvedev match. And it's different depending on which umpire you get. Some of them will come down really hard on it, which I think is why Eva Azdaraki, the umpire for that match, called on supervisors to the court. Because in this case, and from watching the footage back, basically he said to the umpire, fuck you, 3 times in a row. And then I think he might have called her a bitch in Russian, which is, of course, not on at all. And so the supervisors were called to the court, and everyone was wondering if this is I think it was the semi-final with Alcaraz. He could have been defaulted really early on in that match. But I think there was discussion had, and maybe they came down on the side of, these people have paid a lot of money, we've got a lot of corporate people here, let's carry on with the match and give them a warning and leave it at that. And that's what I think happened.
And that's the core of the problem.
Yeah.
It's going, you can't, it's the semi-final of Wimbledon.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what he does. He could beat the shit out of you with his racket and leave you a bloody stain on the court. This is the semi-final of Wimbledon. And he's Daniil Medvedev. Who are you?
The funny thing is, though, it did happen in the US Open. Djokovic was defaulted in the final when he hit a ball in anger and it struck a line judge in the neck and she choked and fell to the ground. And that's when Djokovic was defaulted. Yeah. So... But yeah, in other matches I've seen players hit the ball into the crowd in an angry way and not get any warnings. It's just so inconsistent, the moderation of these sorts of things in matches. Even with things like the timings between points, the number of seconds that players get between finishing a point and having to hit their serve on the next one. it's all very wishy-washy, and it's what's so difficult about moderating the sport, is that it's very much down to, one, the circumstances of the tournament and the reputation of the tournament, and two, the individuals involved officiating the match. So there's no easy answer really, but I do agree it needs reform, because it really irks me when people have clearly done things that are wrong and they get away with it, and it just pisses me off so much when I'm watching.
And umpires make mistakes.
Yeah,
they get things wrong.
Of course they do, and they're allowed to do that.
And it needs. Imagine any other job.
Yeah.
Imagine any other job. You're working in a factory environment, and you go up to your supervisor who said you need to move this box from here to here, and you moved it to the wrong place, and you go, fuck you, and you go, are you insane? You're fired. It's the extremeness and the insanity that you go, oh, this is normal, and that makes me feel even more insane when it's. But just, I see it with my eyes and I hear it with my ears. This is insane. And then all the systems going, oh, it's fine. It's just a warning. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
It's what annoys me is when they're like, oh, we'll give you a warning, and the next time you do it, we'll take points away. Just take points away straight away. Yeah.
And
take games
again,
away. Whatever.
Yeah, it should be. It needs to be harsh enough that they go, oh shit.
Well,
I need to change my behaviour.
Like, as soon as it happened, he shut up very quickly, and he looked very sheepish in the games after the discussion took place. So I think he knew what he'd done, and that he could have been defaulted, but he'd been kind of let off the hook. So he was very lucky. But he still lost the match anyway, which was the right outcome. But
and a massive part of the problem is they don't start getting angry and having outbursts once they become professionals. That means that it's enabled all the way through from their childhood, and that's where it needs to change. It needs to change there as well.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we've very extensively covered Wimbledon in today's episode. Hope you enjoyed listening. If you'd like, you can subscribe to our channel on YouTube, or to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. We also have a Patreon, but that will all come up in the outro anyway. Just reminding you again, in case you're keen on supporting us. And we'll see you again. We've got another episode coming up pretty much every Thursday. All right. Thanks for listening. Bye.
We hope you enjoyed that episode of Gaming the System. If you want to support us, you can donate to us through our PayPal by sending it to wearegamingthesystem@gmail.com if you want to send us a one-off donation. If you want to donate to us monthly, you can subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/gamingthesystem. Until next time, bye-bye.